Good evening. My name is Carolina Esquivel, and this is my introductory speech video. The title of my speech is called The Life of a Caterpillar to a Social Butterfly. The general purpose is to enlighten my audience on how my challenges shaped me into the woman I am today. The specific purpose is to show my struggle in becoming an extrovert and more positive. And I open with my thesis statement. I grew up thinking that nobody could understand my struggle. Sometimes you just have to accept the fact that certain things will never go back to the way that it used to be. And that was a quote that I found in quotesgate.com. It's hard to go to puberty and life by yourself. That's why I decided to attach myself to a very special human while trying to become more extrovert. And now I will explain from my youth to my teenage years to my adult life and how I became the person that I am today. We start the story when I was about 3 years old. So when I was about 3 years old, I thought I was an only child, only to realize that in my doorstep was an unfamiliar face. It turns out that I went from Carolina, the only child, to Carolina, the younger sibling. It turns out that the person, this unfamiliar face, happened to be an older brother. My older brother was a very harsh kind of brother. I was constantly tormented and always being scared that I, to the point that I just did not want to talk anymore. I just kept to myself and hoped that I wouldn't get scared anymore. He had a bad habit of constantly scaring me with any sudden loud noise or any theory. So I just kept to myself. And after a few years, I was about 7 years old, and my mom went to Nicaragua and bought two more unfamiliar faces to me. And it turns out that they were my older sisters. And I thought to myself, finally, I don't have to be scared anymore. But as I feared talking, they would get upset at me and brush me to the side. To add to the struggle, I kept analyzing on how I can improve my damaged self-esteem and how can I finally learn to talk. With nobody to talk to, I felt alone in the world, and I knew I wasn't only passing through this hardship, but it sure felt that same way. As the years passed by and I got older, I continued to not only work on my self-esteem, but also my anxiety. And as we can all recollect, puberty and middle school was not an easy part in our youth. During the hardships of my youth, my mom was a single mother, and my siblings grew up and moved out of the house. So my mom was unable to take care of me for most of my life. So I had to move to my aunt's house. Everything changed when I was about 13 years old. I befriended the kids next door and found comfort within them. But I still had a hard time talking, and now with the struggle of passing through puberty. One day I became so saturated and overwhelmed with sorrow and depression that I started cutting my own wrist. The behavior kept going for almost 4 months until one of my other friends noticed a few scars on my wrist. This particular friend gave me an incentive to see past the pain and look forward to the future and made me promise that I would never harm myself again. Unknowingly, during the time, I found the person that I needed my whole life. This person turned out to be my husband. As I continued my last few months of middle school, my entire demeanor changed. I became more happier, more outgoing, and more expressive. I was becoming the person that I wanted to be this whole time, all because I just had one person to talk to. As I became an adult, I never broke that sacred promise to my friend. I continued to laugh, listen to those who didn't have anybody to talk to, and ultimately tried to look forward to the future. I sat down when I just turned 18, finally out of high school and entering college. And I've worked so hard to become the best version of myself that I can possibly be. And in doing so, I'm extremely proud of my hardship. I sat down and laughed with a group of friends that had their own struggle and went out to get pizza. And we talked about the hardships that we've endured. And it was good to know that I was not the only person that went through the spiraling staircase known as madness, known as life. I turned 21 about 6 years ago, and I look back at this age. I'm currently 27, and I thought how how far I've gone in life, how much I've changed in life in terms of my struggle from an introvert to an extrovert. The odd part about it is that I was discussing this epiphany with an old friend, and ironically, during that moment, this particular friend that helped me with my struggle sent me a text message, and I was elated. I was very happy. We caught up with drinks, and since we just became more comfortable with one another. As the times rolled by, we got closer. We dated, we became more serious, moved in, we got engaged, and now we're currently married. And I thought to myself, my younger self could never believe what had happened to me, how far I've gotten in life. As we pass through life, some of us just need a person by our sides to give us a purpose. My conclusion: every experience that I've endured led me to this point in my life. I can talk, I can laugh, I can see there was more to the 13-year-old that cried every single moment, or even the 7-year-old that felt too scared to talk, and the 5-year-old that never wanted to talk. This is the end of my speech, and I'm hoping that I did a good impression. Thank you.